Hey everybody, welcome back to What's Happening at the Red Barn, and in this episode we're going to play with composites. I've got an event that the LS car was accepted into, of all things, in its lovely state of unreadiness, but it was accepted into the event anyway. And that's been motivation to tidy up a few things. And one of them is, you can see on this side, we've got carpet on the longitudinal. The other side, obviously none, and the floor is not done yet over there. Carpeting on the floor isn't done yet either. But what's interesting to note here is, maybe you can see, what I've done is I've made a removable carbon fiber little, L-shaped bracket that wraps around the longitudinal. And I've used the 3M adhesive to glue this, sort of carpet down onto it, because I've never liked gluing carpet into a car, and I don't like just trying to get carpet put in with Velcro or something like that. It always ends up wrinkling. So what this does is it provides a rigid backing for everything, and yet it's also completely removable from the car. And then what I did, this is just temporary, I'll make up some tidier trim rings, but these are just grommets that I chopped in half and split, and kind of do my best to kind of hide the split where no one really notices it, and it just, again, temporary tidies it up. But what we're going to do today is I got to modify. I made two of those carbon panels. I was going to have them as exposed carbon, but I don't think that's right for the vibe of the car. So I ended up, here's the second one. But what ended up happening is, for some reason, I decided I wasn't going to use these, and I ended up chopping them up for something else. I don't even remember what it was. But now it turns out I need them. And since they're not going to be used for anything other than as a fixture to hold the carpet and get trimmed so they can be fit to the car, this one's too short now. So what I'm going to do is just extend out this panel by bonding some more carbon fiber onto an extension and tying it into this as nicely as I can, and we'll see how that turns out. So today's going to be a little bit about going through the carbon fiber process. So here we go. So I've done some composite work in the past, mostly on motorcycle stuff. Did a carbon fiber gas tank for a custom bike that I built. And what I've ended up doing over the years is I've just got this little roll-around cart that serves as my portable composite station. Now what I'm going to do is just prep this surface for the composite, and I'm going to go ahead and this is mold release wax. So now what we're going to do is we are going to use some PVA mold release. Okay, so now that dries, and this mold is essentially ready to go. Carbon fiber that's covered with carpet, somebody's going to say that's sacrilege, but it ain't no big thing. So let me go ahead and cut the carbon up. Well, look at that, wonders never cease. I found part of the piece that I cut off, and I'm just going to go ahead and clamp this thing in place and just patch it back together, and then I won't have to make that part. So let me go ahead and get this underway. Now, as I'm going to use, this is a rotary cutter. Again, you can get these sorts of things at fabric stores, and it's really cool because you can just cut along on the material, and it'll cut carbon, it cuts fiberglass. So I'm just going to cut, again, this is a total hack repair just to get that thing set up so I can cover it. And here's the next part of the process. I've had really good success with West Systems epoxies, so I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up with, I just use tongue depressor popsicle sticks. So now with the epoxy mixed up, I'm just going to go ahead and lay a little bit of epoxy. Let's brush a bit of the epoxy on here. Now I'm just going to wet it out. And you can tell when it's wetted out, it just kind of goes clear. And I'm just going to lay a few layers of this fiberglass in here. And It's not going to see any force put on it. People don't stand on this part as they're getting in and out of the car. But anyway, so there you go. One quick and simple composite repair. Okay, it's the next morning, and that is all cured and dried. And just because I figure I want to take a look at it, if I just pop these guys off, this should just lift right out, because all that was just a little seam panel there. Look at that. It just pops right out of there. And there's the repair. So yeah, there's a seam here, but I'll just, knock that down. There's a little bit of epoxy leaked through, but I'll just sand that flat. And then, as I said, we'll put it back in the mold and add this piece in. There's my two pieces. And now let's go do this layup. All right, I got the first layer of epoxy down, and I'm just going to now set this piece down into the corner and try to get it butted right into that space so that it's the same level as the piece we're joining it to. And I'm going to use, of all things, a Bondo spreader. These things actually work pretty well. And instead of painting this stuff on, I'm going to use this is another technique that works. And you can just use this as a way of pressing the epoxy down into the fibers. This also works as a good way of getting excess resin out of the material. And I'm just going to smear this stuff around and get this wetted out as best I can. And rather than go through the repetitive stuff, I just went ahead and laid up the carbon fiber. And then instead of fiberglass, as I was going through my supplies, I realized I had what's called Coremat. It is literally an absorbent pad designed specifically for building bulk quickly. So I laid down my couple layers of carbon, and then I laid in the Coremat, and then I just skinned it with a couple pieces of fiberglass to tie everything together. Okay, it's the next day, and this is all cured. Let's go ahead and take all this stuff off of here. And you can see this was just, it falls right off of this stuff when it's prepped right. So, carbon fiber, as I mentioned, there's the Coremat, and it's freaking rigid. I mean, this stuff is going nowhere. So this worked out great. Now I'm just going to go to town on trimming off this excess. Okay, so in order to get the pattern made to trim the carbon panel, I needed to pull the seats out so I can get access to all this stuff, and this gives you a little bit of a glimpse to some of the other things that are going on. I already pulled these fasteners out, but this is just a little panel I made. You can see that the ECU cover over there, I wanted to have a matching panel on this side. So this is the fire extinguisher holder panel, and it sort of just matches up to the one on the other side. But this gives you the idea of what we got to do. I got to trim that panel so that it clears this crossbar. This is the emergency brake bracket. I don't have the emergency brake in the car. And then things like, it's got to clear the seatbelt bolt and stuff like that. So I'm just going to make up a quick template to get the top notched, and then I'll start working it down, mark where those need to be trimmed, and get that underway. So now I just got to position this on here where I want it, make sure that I like where everything is, and trim these notches out. So, and then I'll be ready to start working on the vertical surface. Okay, I got the panel all trimmed and in place. Just set in here, but this will give you an idea of kind of how it works. This just sets in, and And you can't really see, bad lighting. But this is just trimmed out around the crossbar, emergency brake bracket, and the seatbelt bolt. Now we go ahead and glue the carpet on. And now you can see what the deal is, right? What I've done before is I just split where the door bars are, and I'll go fit this in the car and then carefully razor cut around the tube and allow this part to fold back down while there's a hole here, and that's how I disappear this little seam. And as you can see, even though there's a slit there, it's almost virtually invisible. So I'm really happy with how these things turn out. They look pretty good. And whoops, forgot that hole there for the seatbelt mount. We'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll start fitting this in the car. So here I've got the panel back in the car, and it's in position with the slit out to the end of this. And I'm just going to take a sharp X-Acto blade and get this stuff out of the way. Start trimming this carpet right at the base of the tube. And then you can see that that carpet just lays right down where I want it. And remember, this door seal comes down to here and covers a bit of it. And just now on to the rest of them. All right, a bit of careful trimming later, and we have a finished panel. I went ahead and got the little trim rings, the grommet, split grommets cut and made, and you can see how the seam is essentially invisible, and it sits inside and looks pretty good with fitment and stuff. And now I just got to do the floors, but I'm really pretty happy with how that turned out. It really does finish it off a lot better than bare metal. So onward with the floor carpet, and we'll be done here and should be ready in plenty of time for the event here at the end of the month. All right, thanks so much for watching, and as always, comments and questions, please leave them down below, and I'll look forward to talking to you again real soon. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.